Hey everybody, it's Chase with AV Pop Culture again, and it is finally time. I am going to do my top 10 cozy mystery list. It is a perfect time of winter to do those cozy type mysteries, and I keep using that word because if you didn't know, there is actually a subgenre of murder mysteries that are called cozies. They have that sort of warm feeling where you just want to have a hot cider beverage, soup, curl up with a blanket, and figure out who done it. Well, that is the type of list that we are doing here today. I've got my top 10 recommendations. So pop that tape in. I got you. Let's go do this. All right, so cozies. Now, cozies are usually marked by having a professional or amateur detective. They have those comfortable vibes. They don't usually have over the top, like on-screen blood, kills, things like that. So we'll push those boundaries a little bit, but they are a subgenre all to themselves because to put your finger on it, the best way to describe them is cozy. And I have a list of 10 of these that I really enjoy. And I actually don't have all these on physical media, but I also want to throw out a general caution warning. While I will try not to spoil these at all, it is very hard sometimes to talk about mysteries without giving completely anything away. I will do my best, but proceed with caution. If I think something is going to be a big time spoiler, I will let you know, because particularly with mysteries, you don't want to give it away because that's part of the fun. But let's start with number 10. This one leans a little bit to horror, but it's very cozy. It was one I was going to talk about at Halloween. I'm talking about 2000's What Lies Beneath. Now, this stars Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer, and this is a Robert Zemeckis directed film. And it definitely has a little bit of horror vibes. What it is Ford is a university like research science professor, and his wife, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, was recently in an accident, and she is starting to see things and hear things, and he's becoming increasingly worried about her. She is becoming increasingly convinced that their Vermont lakeside house is haunted, or that maybe she's just going crazy, that she's got brain damage, something is wrong. And they are trying to figure this out the whole film. She enlists the help of the neighbors, friend of hers, where they actually use a Ouija board. They try to contact the ghosts to see if there's ghosts. So all throughout this thing, you're going to get a spiraling mystery that may or may not be an actual mystery. It might be a mystery that's covering something else, or it might be a mystery into the real supernatural, and you're trying to figure that out right along with them through the whole movie. And like I said, this is supremely well acted. You have Harrison Ford, you have Michelle Pfeiffer, you have Robert Zemeckis behind the camera directing it. So it is one that's underrated. I don't hear about it a lot. I felt like this was a good place to put it in. They're in those whole lakeside, small cottage type vibes, small house. So, and you have the big mystery. I kind of wedge it in here. It does lean a little bit of horror here and there, but nothing super scary. What Lies Beneath comes in at number 10. Now, at number 9 is one that's a little bit more recent, and talk about underrated. I never hear anyone really talk about this movie that stars Rachel McAdams and Jason Bateman. And I am talking about 2018's Game Night. Now, this is about a group of friends who always get together to have game night. Who'da thunk it? They get together to have game night, and Rachel McAdams and Jason Bateman are a couple that are very competitive, and their normal game night is sort of interrupted when a mystery unfolds after one of the friends' shady brother is apparently, maybe, kidnapped by what is possibly some really hardcore gangsters. So you kind of get this. I mean, there's definitely some comedy here. There's definitely a mystery to figure out. And it all starts with, a cozy game night, and it spirals into this mystery. And I don't want to give a bunch away. Again, these are kind of hard to give a lot of details without giving anything away, but I want you to get excited to check them out. But it also stars Kyle Chandler, who I'm a big fan of, and is one that I definitely recommend that you check out. Highly underrated. I just don't hear anybody talk about it. I think it got a recent announcement for a physical media release, new physical media release on 4K. So that would be one to definitely grab and check out. If so, you guys let me know if I'm right about that in the comments. I'm just remembering that off the top of my head. But Game Night comes in at number 9. Now at number 8, of course, some of these had to be here. And these are the Agatha Christie sort of mysteries. And I am talking about 2017's Murder on the Orient Express. Now, this, of course, there is a older movie, Murder on the Orient Express, but and that one's good, and but I really like this one, this new take. They're on the train. If you don't know, this is based on an Agatha Christie story. It stars Kenneth Branagh as, and I always butcher his name, Hercule Perot, Hercule Perot. I can never say his name, all right? But he is supposed to be the world's best detective. And he is on this train that is going on this long trip. And it is, you talk about cozy, you're on this train. Everybody's dressed like you would imagine in an older mystery type thing. And there's driving snow outside, and that just adds to the vibe. But adding to that is just an outstanding cast. You have, besides Kenneth Branagh, you have Penelope Cruz, Johnny Depp, Michelle Pfeiffer making another appearance here, Willem Dafoe, Daisy Ridley, Dame Judi Dench, Josh Gad. I mean, this cast goes on and on and on. And it's almost like a game of Clue in itself. It is a very old school whodunit. Lots of twists and turns, lots of red herrings. If you don't know what that is, Google it. That's something placed in there to make you think it's going one way when it's really going another. It is a lot of fun. I know some people don't like it. You have to not compare it to the old one and just enjoy it for what it is. And it just gives me all of those vibes. And again, I'll probably get, somebody will take me to task for saying the word vibes too much or something like that. But there's just not really a lot of synonyms for how a movie transfers the feeling and atmosphere of it to you and puts you in a certain mood, other than you basically have atmosphere, vibes, mood. It's pretty limited because they don't all mean the same thing in terms of discussing movies and how they transfer a feeling to us. So it has all of those cozy vibes of cozy murder mysteries, Agatha Christie classic, a outstanding all-star cast that's accessible by anyone. So Murder on the Orient Express comes in at number 8. Now, at number 7 is one that leans a little tougher, but I'm still going to put it on this cozy mysteries list. It leans a little horror. It's very heavy mystery, and it leads to like a psychological thing. But boy, is it like a cozy whodunit crazy mystery. I'm talking about 2003's Identity. This is one I actually do have. This is one that could do for a 4K upgrade for sure right here, because this whole movie is set at a like desolate Nevada roadside motel, and it is just a driving, pouring rainstorm, thunderstorm all night. So you have the feeling of the crackling thunder and lightning pouring down rain outside, and everybody having to like take cover inside together. And this is another one. This is a James Mangold film. This is another one that it has a big cast. It has John Cusack, the late Ray Liotta. You have Amanda Peet, Alfred Molina, Clea Duvall, John C. McGintley, Jake Busey. It just goes on and on. Pruitt Taylor Vince, who is going to be in the new Superman movie as Jonathan Kent, which I don't see that, but all right. But the cast is really good, and it's the story like you have that roadside motel. 10 strangers arrive there, and one by one, they start getting killed off. Things start to happen, and not just they get killed off, really strange things, almost supernatural things in some instances, and kind of supernatural things in other instances start happening. And they have to kind of get to know each other. You find out the backstories, a little bit of what led each one there. And they have to kind of figure out what's going on. And there are some whoa, there's definitely some whoa moments in this thing. Some hard twists, big reveal at the end. I'm not gonna spoil it, but they have to band together as they are getting picked off one at a time. You have to see if any of them survive the night. So identity, and it all takes place in this hotel, and rain outside and the storm coming down. I know it pushes the boundaries, being rated R and all that kind of stuff, but I think it fits the bill here. Identity comes in at number 7. Now, at number 6 on our list is another one that kind of pushes that boundary a little bit, has a little bit of supernatural flavor to it. You might think it's a monster movie. It really is not a monster movie. I am talking about 2021's The Werewolves Within. This is as cozy as it gets. This is based on a video game, and it stars Sam Richardson, which you'll know him. If you don't know him, you'll know him as that guy that's been in a lot of movies that you've seen in a lot of movies. But it's an adaptation of a video game, which I have to admit I haven't played and I don't know anything about. But and some people are like, oh, it stars Lily from the AT&T commercials. But this small town where a pipeline is going through and people are divided on each side about their thoughts on that. They're hit with a blizzard, the snow. You're going to get some of the most cozy vibes in the snowfall. This was almost in another video I did about snowy vibes movies, because there is snow everywhere, snow falling, people walking outside and snow falling, until they have to come together and basically have a sleepover because the town is apparently being set upon by werewolves. Now, it's not going to be a big werewolf monster movie, all that kind of stuff, but it's right there in the title, The Werewolves Within. Each of these people are quite the characters. It really turns into an Agatha Christie style whodunit with comedy elements, dark comedy elements, a little touch of horror elements. But they're all inside this house. They're all armed. They are trying to survive the night. There is something outside. They are starting to question one another. And of course, they're in these it's like a cottage, like a cabin type situation with the snow falling outside, big jackets, all that, things over their head when they go out. Very cozy, very comfortable, but a little spooky, big mystery, and a lot of fun. So Werewolves Within comes in on our list at number 6. Now, at number 5 on the list is one that I never hear anyone talk about. I mean, not ever. And when I talk about the cast in this, you're going to be like, nobody ever talks about this movie. It's very stylish. It's from 2018, so it's rolling on about 7 years old here. And it's done by Drew Goddard. It's written and directed by Drew Goddard, who co-wrote Cabin in the Woods with Joss Whedon. And that's important because he also worked and wrote on the TV show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is one of my favorites, with Joss Whedon. He also wrote the script for The Martian with Matt Damon. So he's got some interesting stuff under his belt, and then he pulls out Bad Times at the El Royale. Now, this movie, the best way I can describe this movie is a Tarantino film meets a light horror movie meets an Agatha Christie mystery. I don't know how else to, those are the three things that kind of come together that make this movie. Now, this movie stars Jeff Bridges. Chris Hemsworth is in this movie. Dakota Johnson, John Hamm, Nick Offerman, Cynthia Erivo. Is that how you say, from Wicked? I'm so bad with saying people's names, and I hate getting names wrong. But it is about, it's kind of in with identity. This one is set in 1969, so you're definitely going to get some of those. It very much visually looks like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood by Tarantino. Some of the dialogue crackles like that. But you have these 6 strangers, these 6 different people that show up at this old hotel that's very much looks like something that's taken out of old Las Vegas, where maybe like Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra would have hung out and owned this place. The interesting thing about this hotel is it sets half in Nevada and half in California. And the people that arrive at this hotel, this place is beautiful still, right? Because it's still 1969, but it's abandoned. It's empty except for one solitary worker at the front desk. That's it. They don't see anyone else anywhere. And different people keep arriving. And through the course of the movie, which is about 2.5 hours long, it's a commitment. So it's one of those rainy day cozy movies, or snowy day maybe. We kind of see what brings these people here to this hotel, their backstory, how they may be connected to this, what sinister forces or things might be going on at this hotel. And Jeff Bridges turns in a great performance in this movie. He steals every scene that he's in. He's playing a priest, but who's at this hotel, but it is very, very different. Chris Hemsworth plays a Charles Manson almost style cult leader whose agenda is very hazy. Really, everyone's agenda here is hazy. And that is part of the mystery that we figure out. We figure out how these people connect. What is going on with the hotel itself? Is it haunted? Is there some kind of crime going there? What is going on? There's so much to unravel, so many threads, and it is all done well. And that aesthetic of the 1960s just adds something to it. It's just beautifully shot, and I highly recommend it. I never hear anybody talk about it, but Bad Times at the El Royale comes in at number 5 on my list. Now, at number 4 on my list is one that I do have. I'm going to kind of mention 2 movies here because they're basically the same movie. I am going to talk about 2007's Disturbia. Now, this stars Shia LaBeouf, and the reason I say I'm going to talk about 2 movies because this is basically Rear Window with James Stewart. So it is kind of the same movie. You can double feature them. They are both mysteries that fit this list. This one's from 2007, I think I said. Stars Shia LaBeouf. You're also going to get David Morse in here, who has popped up in some Stephen King movies, but a lot of other movies as well. And you're going to get Carrie Ann Moss from The Matrix, among other things. And this was after a couple of the Transformer films. In this movie, Shia LaBeouf, he loses his father. He doesn't deal with it well. He lashes out. He does some things. He gets put on house arrest. He has an ankle bracelet on, and he can't leave. And, of course, he grows bored. It's very much like Jimmy Stewart. You know, he breaks his leg. He can't leave. He starts looking around the neighborhood. He has his telescope or binoculars. He's looking out. And Shia LaBeouf, becomes convinced that the next-door neighbor is a serial killer. And he starts watching every move he makes. He starts to develop a relationship with a beautiful girl down the street who he can't leave and go anywhere with because he's on house arrest. And the police are not listening to him. His mom's not listening to him because the way he's been acting since he lost his father, all this kind of stuff. But sometimes it's not paranoia if they're out to get you. And whether or not his neighbor is actually out to get him, or whether it's someone else, or whether it's in his mind, that's part of what you're trying to unravel here. I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't seen it. Shia LaBeouf turns in maybe one of his best, most underrated performances in this movie, I feel like, and it is definitely worth a watch. I highly recommend Rear Window as well. I don't have it, but I know there's a good 4K out there of it. I don't know if this is available on anything other than an old DVD, but I highly recommend this one. It's very underrated one I don't hear talked about a lot, but extremely well done. Of course, since he's on house arrest, it all takes place in this beautiful neighborhood in this beautiful old craftsman style house. Love those type of houses. Gives you all those vibes. And Disturbia, a high recommend. Pair it up with Rear Window. I love Jimmy Stewart, one of my favorite all-time actors. Comes in at number 4 on this list. All right, at number 3 on the list, I had to go back to the Kenneth Branagh sort of Agatha Christie remakes or tellings of Agatha Christie style stories, and I am going with 2023's A Haunting in Venice. Now, again, leans a little bit supernatural, leans a little bit of horror, but it's not going to turn you off if you're not a horror fan. It's not going to have a bunch of on-screen blood scares. It has a couple of mild jump scares, as does Bad Times at the El Royale. I should probably mention it does have a couple of jump scares. But Haunting in Venice, again, brings Hercule Poirot. One day I'll say his name right. It brings him out of a sort of forced exile, retirement, to this crumbling villa in Italy, in Venice, and obviously, and he is going to partake in a seance, and that is going to kick things off because this place is supposedly haunted. It's supposedly responsible for people being killed. They're going to do this seance, and it is up to him to figure out what is real, what is not, and to catch the killer. This one is pretty fun. It's like a good Halloween watch. It would be a good Halloween watch, but when you have this cold gray winter that we're going on right now, and you can watch any of these any time of the year, but sometimes they just fit when you're kind of cold. It's cold and gray, overcast, kind of spooky, warm, cozy vibe, all that kind of stuff. You just kind of get all that feeling mixed together, and you watch this movie any time of the year, but really October, January feel like perfect times for this movie. You have to figure out, is the supernatural stuff real? Is there a cause of the supernatural stuff? Is the killer trying to use that? Did the killer find out about supernatural stuff and that's how they're trying to take advantage of it to get away with murder? All that's got to be figured out. So you have your whodunit murder mystery, perfect setting, beautiful, highly recommend. There's actually another one that's not on my list too, The Murder on the Nile. I actually like all 3 of these movies, and that one stars Gal Gadot and another all-star cast. I'm a big history guy, so, they're on a boat on that one. So I recommend that one too. They're going through, the Nile, so you got the pyramids, Egypt, you got all those vibes in there too. You could check that one out, but for this list, I'm going to stick with A Haunting in Venice, probably the newest film on this list because it just came out in 2023. It comes in at number 3 on the list. At number 2 is one that I've admittedly put on a couple of lists before because I really love this movie. I love the way it makes me feel, the tone of it, everything else. I think this one's universally agreed upon as a great, cozy, mystery, fall, winter atmosphere to watch this time of year. I'm talking about 2019's Knives Out. This is one, I'm not sure if there's a 4K. I have almost bought the Blu-ray 10 different times, and I refuse to because I'm like, every time I start to, I think I should check and see if there's a 4K, and then I forget. And then I'm like, I should definitely wait on a 4K of this because the colors in it, the fall colors, are so awesome. You have a great cast in this. You have Daniel Craig playing, oh my gosh, this is another name, Benoit Blanc. I believe that's how you say his name. And he's got himself a southern accent that he's kind of pulling off in this. And this is another one that has a great cast. You have Jamie Lee Curtis in here. You have Ana de Armas in here. You have Chris Evans in here. You have Christopher Plummer, and that sort of kicks off the movie because he is a famed novelist, and he suddenly turns up dead right at his 85th birthday. All the family descends on this house that looks like, I don't know, it almost looks like a building at a Ivy League private school. Everybody's got on their scarves, they're bundled up. You've got all these beautiful fall colors. It's cold outside. And then they're inside, and there's this beautiful, interior of this house with fireplaces everywhere. It just has all of the feels, right? And on top of that, it's a fun murder whodunit mystery. It is a lot of fun. It's not overly heavy. There's not a bunch of like sex or violence or anything like that, but it still tells a very, very entertaining story. This is one that I can watch again and again. So even if once you know the mystery, it doesn't lose out. Like sometimes with murder mysteries, with Identity, I'm going to tell you, once you've seen it once, maybe twice, because you might see things that you missed the first time, it can kind of lose a little bit of punch. But this one, Knives Out, I don't know. I feel like I can just watch it forever. It's comfort. So it has to be high on the list. So I'm going at number 2, Knives Out. And that just leaves number 1. And number 1 on the list, it had to be here eventually. Come on, what are we even doing here? I'm talking about 1985's Clue. You can't have a cozy murder mystery list of COZIES without Clue. Now, this, famously stars Tim Curry. You got Christopher Lloyd in here. You have the house guests, plus the maid, plus the butler. This is based on a board game. This has multiple different endings, 3 different surprise endings. Who done it with what murder weapon in which room. It's all there. This one's a lot of fun. Of course, it's, done at this big manor, castle, or what have you. And that adds to the feels, the vibes of it all, the coziness, that whole feeling there is encapsulated. I don't feel like it gets more of a traditional cozy than Clue. And it's lighthearted, so it's not going to scare anybody off. You can watch. My kids loved this movie very much. We haven't watched it in a while. I have this Blu-ray. I do know there's a 4K available from Shout Studios, Scream Factory. I don't know for sure because I don't have that one. I don't know, and I got to get it because I love this movie. But I don't know for sure. I'm guessing it does have the multiple endings. You say this has 3 different endings on it, and you can see all the different ones. High recommend. Clue, it has to be on the list for anyone, especially when you're talking classic, cozy, murder, mystery, classic mystery movies. You got to have Clue, the classic board game. Play the board game, watch the movie, have some hot chocolate, some hot cider, snuggle in, watch the snow or the rain outside on a night. Nothing beats that. Clue comes in at number 1 on our list. And that is my list of 10 cozies. Cozy mystery movies. You gotta love them. I love movies like that. I'm all about the vibes and the feels and the mood and atmosphere you get from movies. I know some people complain that maybe I'm too much about that. That's what I'm here for. That's how we connect with movies. That's what makes them special to us. That's what cements them into our memories. And we connect them to points in time based off of that. Not just skimming through lists, not just skimming through on streaming. You don't connect that way. You have the discussion about what they do for you, how they make you feel, who you watched them with, why you remember certain parts of it, and that's what's so much fun. That's what makes movies and physical media so special. But if you enjoyed this, you like what we do here, we do all kinds of themed lists, rankings, all that kind of stuff here. We do physical media news, deep dive 4K reviews from a fan and filmmaker's perspective where I really dig in there and let you know which ones are good or all that kind of stuff and why they're good. Not just let you know if something's good or bad, but why it's good or bad. We do all that kind of stuff here, live streams, all that. And if that sounds like something that's your jam, please like, subscribe, ring that bell so that you never miss a video, because I know, unfortunately, that's something we need to do to help the YouTube algorithm find us out there in the midst of all the great content creators on YouTube. And I really appreciate it. If you'd like to help support this pop culture adventure, you can join below at my Patreon link or right here on YouTube. Become a channel member couple dollars a month to get your name in lights on every video, behind the scenes looks at my filmmaking, special events in my life I put on there, short films I've done, special videos that are members only, all that kind of stuff, and it really helps out the channel. The same when you use those Amazon links below to the movies that I talk about. Anything you go and get while you click on those, it helps out the channel, and I really do appreciate it. But until next time, be kind, rewind like always. This is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.
Bye now.